Rufai for Arise News almost kill Reno. Hey, whoa. Not be smart here, my people. I agree to una according to una time. I beg. Now the way the tori is sweet. Now say make I bring and come give una. I say, you know, say that Reno will be like, we can't get white baby for you now. This thing, now you whoop, now you be. See the way they talk. As they talk, now Rufai tell and say, I put it to you. Say, you don't know what you they talk. He said, "Na so Peter Obi do this." I still like what Dr. Abati Abiru Bati talk the other man. So that one come and say, "Wetin be the problem when you get with Peter Obi right from day one?" This na friend to Peter Obi before when be say just come they criticize Peter Obi. Where my people make I just leave una make una see how they take blast this he goats for there for interview when they call am for Arise TV. I beg, if you know say you know they follow my page and you know they share my video, do quick to follow my page and to share my video. Oh yeah, watch this video.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure you listened to that introduction. What's your problem with Peter Obi's academic records as indicated in that introduction? We all know that Mr. Peter Obi attended University of Nigeria, Nsukka, right? We also know that he has multiple qualifications. If I may throw it in, he was my classmate at the Sai Business School at the University of Oxford. So he has classmates who can stand up and say, I sat in the same class with Peter Obi. I can at least attest to that. Okay? And then you say, in the, you know, as the introduction indicated, that even the APC candidates' academic records are more straightforward. What is straightforward? Chicago State University or Government College Ibadan? If you may just educate us.
Well, thank you for the question. Well, I made that statement in response to criticism from the Labour Party against the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress. And I said, if you look at all the presidential candidates, the least educationally qualified, the most educationally backward, if you like, is the Labour Party candidate. You know, Rabi Mr. Congress, who has a PhD in water engineering, Waziri Atiku Abubakar has a master's with distinction in international relations, and Bola Tinubu has a second class upper in accounting. And you have the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, who had a second class lower in philosophy. And if you put that together, it's obviously the lowest. And so when they were poking fun of Bola Tinubu, you know, they have a number of their surrogates and a spokesman saying that, you know, he didn't even go to the Chicago State University. I said before, look, I do not like Bola Tinubu because I know for a fact that he's a known drug lord. However, I went to Chicago State University myself, physically. I went there and I released photos. I went there to their exams and records office and I asked them, and they did tell me that yes, Bola Tinubu attended, he's a proud alumni of the institution, and that
you know, I don't think there's any issue, you know, in terms of the qualification, except to go back and amend that constitution. But with regard to Mr. Peter Obi, now, maybe I would like you to interrogate other things. We had a guest on this program this morning before you, Patrick Okibo III, whose group had just done a report. And he said, in terms of net favorability, that Peter Obi is number one among sample size of 2,000 in 12 states, you know, the major states of the presidential candidates excluded, and that he is the most favored presidential candidate. Secondly, he himself had said that it's not about the number of certificates you boast of. It's about competence, character, integrity. And he has engaged us with a 7-point agenda. If we can just focus on some of those basic issues, rather than whether he has a degree or he has a master's degree. Look, my mechanic can run this country. If INEC says it's okay. Even if he fails school SAT, that's as bad as it is under the Constitution. So don't let us waste time on that.
Well, in response to that, if you have a minimum qualification for a job and then you put an advert out and then several people apply, you're actually going to grade them on their level. So now you're looking at about 46% of people who, if you do a poll in English, they are not going to be, they are not even going to be able to access it. Now, if you go to the north of Nigeria, they don't get their message, their news, or their influence from social media or from the internet. They get it by and large from radio. So a lot of all these polls are flawed. I'm not impressed by them. And then you talked about Peter Obi's integrity. Look, Peter Obi is the only presidential candidate mentioned by Pandora Papers, that is the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, for corruptly taking money out of Nigeria and hiding them in offshore accounts. So where is the credibility there? So a lot of frenzy has gone on social media. There's a lot of cyberbullying to try to force people who criticize Peter Obi to just, no, this man is not what he's telling Nigerians. And we've got to interrogate him, and we've got to allow people, because when you criticize Bola Tinubu, nobody comes after you. When you criticize Waziri Atiku Abubakar, nobody comes after you. But when you criticize Peter Obi, there is a huge mob. Look now, they've come out with a group that's saying that they want to force Charles Soludo to resign for criticizing Peter Obi. So if Peter Obi becomes president, is that the kind of Nigeria we're going to be living in?
All right, thank you very much, Reno. You talk a lot about the huge mob on social media that come after people if you criticize Mr. Peter Obi. Yet, going through your timeline on social media, it is full of criticism of not just Mr. Peter Obi, of course, of the APC presidential candidate. So you have actually reading on a campaign of attacking the personality of the people running for government as opposed to facing the issues, as has been encouraged again and again. So sort of you're also guilty of what you accuse, the mob that you talk about on social media. Why is it impossible for you to focus rather on your candidate that you're representing and the issues of what he wants to sort out, what he wants to address, rather than the personality or the person? You've called Peter Obi a liar, you've called Asiwaju a drug lord, and so many unprintable names you've spoken about with regards to candidates.
Well, that's not true. If you can tell me the unprintable names that I've said, please say it here. That is false, Ayo.
Is drug lord a pleasant name? Is that something you can...
No. Please, can I respond to that? Yeah. Drug lord is not an unprintable name. If you are a drug lord, first and foremost, if you are a thief, it is not libel to say you are a thief. How am I going to tell you that? If you are a thief, I'll come and meet you and say, oh, you are a nice person who diplomatically likes to take things that do not belong to you. No, you are a thief. Bola Tinubu is a non-drug lord. It's not an unprintable word.
Reno, I put it to you again, and I would like to give you an open challenge about your visit to Chicago, and Chicago told you that they had all the records. I would challenge you openly on that, and this is why I would challenge you. At first, you said that the subpoenas were for Deloitte, were not for Chicago University. Reno, you were wrong. In the court papers, in case you don't have access to it, the court papers by Enahoro Eba that was filed recently, he told his colleague, Mr. Matthew J. Qualls, a Chicago-based lawyer, who issued an attorney subpoena on his behalf against Chicago State University, in case number 22L007289 on the 12th of August. Qual had in his subpoena directed the school to mail all the documents and records in possession that pertains to Tinubu and his educational qualifications. And it is based on that. In the suit, Enahoro told the court that copies from Chicago State academic record undergraduate and were letters sent to him, which were attached to him as a court exhibit. And it contradicts the material provided by Tinubu in EC9 form submitted to INEC. So that's also prove you wrong. In case you do not know, Reno, there was actually a subpoena to Chicago based on the deposition of this legal paper. You can go and read the Vanguard of the 16th of November for that. It's not only the Deloitte that was subpoenaed, it was subpoenaed for Chicago, and this is based on that. That's why I challenge, what did Chicago University tell you, Reno, when you went there? Who did you meet? Who did you talk to? What papers did they give you?
Well, that again, like I said before, there was no subpoena to Chicago State University. An attorney cannot issue a subpoena. I've got a master's in law. I don't know what degree you have. Only a court can issue a subpoena to an institution. Chicago State University's alumni websites. And you can actually do that because I know, in fact, you like to do that a lot. So
Reno, but you prepped for this interview now. How come are you saying if you know you will have brought the records? But you prepped for this interview, Reno. And secondly, what was the name of the executive you met there in Chicago State University? What was the name of the person, the exam records person you met?
Like I said before, you can't be doing this. This is very unprofessional. When you talk, I don't interject. I allow you to finish. I'm very quiet. I control myself. When I'm talking, you should do me the same courtesy. It's wrong for you to just do that. I mean, I don't know why you do that.